did the housing market perform in 2024, and what are you expecting for next year?
Well, it's actually been quite remarkably resilient this year, considering we had a stretched affordability.
Today we are tackling a burning question for homeowners, landlords and property investors. Will there be a housing crash in 2025 in the UK? Recent developments have raised some questions in the housing market, with the Bank of England saying that there is a softening in the residential sales market after the autumn budget, of course, announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves. Buyers are holding back. There continues to be growing concerns about affordability, and even the rental market has its own challenges. But what does this all mean for the year ahead? Well, stick around as we break this down, including predictions for 2025, but also whether there indeed is going to be a crash or a boom. Before I take out my crystal ball, and to quote Winston Churchill, the further backward you look, the further forward you can see. Let's reflect a little bit on the year of 2024. One thing we can see is that the supply of properties across the country has improved. Those property hunters are a bit hesitant. They don't feel that right now, for many of them at least, is the right time to purchase a home. That being said, it's going to be on the high end of the market that you can see that the most. And we can see that first-time buyers continue to be quite active. House prices have seen a modest growth of 4.7% year on year in December 2024. But the expectation for 2025 is actually similar, or possibly even less. Why is this? Well, affordability concerns, as I said before, continues to be a major factor, with mortgage rates right now being higher than when it was pre-pandemic. Buyers are stressed, and even with increased supply, that hesitation is clear. If you're finding this video helpful, smash that like button. It really motivates me in keeping more of these videos out there. The rental market isn't immune to its own challenges either. In fact, when we look at inflation, rental inflation, it has moderated, except for Scotland, where we've seen some major regulation changes and rent have actually increased substantially. This is what happens when we have government intervention and rent control. However, when we do look at the nationwide rent, we can see that it is hovering around to the mid to single digits. But also what we can see is that rental properties are taking longer to rent out. Why is this? Well, there is a slight decrease in demand, but also affordability issues. UK landlords continue to exit the market, which of course limits the supply of available rental stock for those tenants, which with those high rents are finding it much more challenging to save up for a deposit. Now, this creates a vicious cycle which has a financial strain. I don't see this changing anytime soon, and this has a long-term impact, not only in the rental market, but the housing market as a whole. Northern regions like Northern Ireland saw the highest amount of growth of 7.1%, yet when we look at East Anglia, it was just 0.5%. I mean, overall, when we look at the housing market, it's been incredibly resilient. I mean, we had predictions of this year, of just finished 2024, of being negative of 2%, some property professionals even saying up to 3% negative. And here we are, looking back at 2024 with a strong growth. Even with those higher borrowing costs, we saw activity levels improve as the year progressed. And those mortgage approvals, they surpassed their pre-pandemic levels. So what's in store for 2025? Well, prediction from Savills is suggesting a promising outlook. They say that by 2025, we can see a rise in house prices of up to 4% by the end of this year. And in fact, it's the start of a 5-year growth. They say that by the end of 2029, we can see house price growth of above 23%. And we can say that the average house price has increased by £84,000. This optimism, fueled by falling inflation, expected to return or remain at that 2%. Also adding to that, we have an expectation of gradually falling interest rates, which may improve affordability and confidence in the market. And yet this is not without risks. So short-term fluctuations in debt costs, but most importantly, tax changes could be a threat to the housing market. Real estate, as most of you know, is hyperlocal, and regional variation will take a key role in shaping the market. Historically, the North and Scotland has outperformed the South, especially in those low growth periods. That trend is set to continue, with those northern markets seeing growth of around about 6 to 7% in those years of 26 and 27. In contrast, London and the South East may struggle to keep up with these type of numbers, even with lower borrowing costs. Now, these regions, of course, have house prices much higher, and therefore these buyers are going to be constrained for borrowing costs, but also saving up for those deposits, which will limit that growth. On the property type front, terrace houses led price growth in 2024, with flats also rebounding. Now, detached properties, while still popular, saw slower growth compared to other types. This could reflect the unwinding of the race for space trend sparked in the pandemic. So will the UK housing market crash in 2025? The answer is likely no. What we can see is moderate recovery, but also steady growth. And these are because of different factors, but especially the easing of inflation, the reducing of mortgage rates, but also the resilience of that buyer demand. But of course, it's not going to be a smooth process or walk in the park. There is affordability challenges, and of course, you never know what's around the corner. There could be the next pandemic, which something like that will of course impact the housing market. The key here is to stay informed, so make sure you subscribe. Hey, if you're looking for a professional estate agent anywhere in the UK, make sure you follow the link on the description. We have a solid network of agents that we can recommend. And if you want to find out the best cities to invest in the UK in 2025, make sure you check out my next video.